breaking news.
Take a look at what happened.
An assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, who says he was shot on his right ear at his campaign rally tonight in Butler, Pennsylvania. The gunman is dead. Someone who was in the audience was killed, and 2 others have critical injuries. The investigation into the shooter's motive continues. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10 o'clock for our breaking news coverage. I'm Brittany Hope.
And I'm Ty Steele. Tonight, the Secret Service says the suspected shooter fired shots toward the stage where Trump was standing from an elevated position outside of the rally.
We're now hearing from former President Trump himself. He posted a statement on Truth Social, which is his social media platform. He said, quote, "I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured. It is incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now dead. I was shot with a bullet that pierced my upper part of my right ear. I know immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound shots and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening. God bless America."
All right, take a look. This was the moment those shots were fired. You can see Trump reach toward his ear while speaking at the rally as soon as those shots are fired. Then, there it is. Then he goes down on the stage, Secret Service immediately jumping on him to protect him. Once he gets up from the ground, you'll see this in a moment. It's going to take a while. He pumped his fist at the crowd in defiance. That's about to come in a few seconds. Eventually shows his supporters that he was okay. He did have blood on the side of his head and his right ear. You'll see that in a moment. Then he appeared to walk off the stage with the Secret Service. They're still getting him up. You hear those commands from Secret Service. And then after the shooting, you could hear screams in the crowd and then eventually followed by USA chants. Then Secret Service asked media crews to leave the area for safety reasons.
Late tonight, the FBI and authorities in Pennsylvania said in a news conference they are not releasing the shooter's name yet. They also wouldn't give details about the firearm that was used. Cell phone video taken after the assassination attempt appears to show the body of a possible shooter. We do want to warn you that video is disturbing. So here it is. It seems to show a body on the roof of a building near the Trump rally. 3 senior law enforcement sources say the shots were fired from outside the rally security perimeter set up by the Secret Service. This building that you're looking at is about 150 yards from where Trump spoke. The Secret Service says the suspected shooter fired multiple shots toward the stage from an elevated position before Secret Service personnel neutralized the shooter, who we now know is dead.
Anderson Cooper speaking with Butler County District Attorney Richard Goldinger after the shooting. Goldinger says the shooter was outside of the event grounds.
He was outside of the grounds, so to speak. So, quite frankly, I don't know how he would have gotten to the location where he was, but he was outside the grounds, and I think that's something that we're going to have to figure out how he got there.
And tonight, the FBI would not say if this was a security failure. The Secret Service was not at the press conference late tonight in Butler, so they couldn't answer reporter questions about their response.
The U.S. Secret Service is giving more context into the timeline of the shooting. The chief of communications for the Secret Service said, quote, "During former President Trump's campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, on the evening of July 13th at approximately 6:15 p.m., a suspected shooter fired multiple shots toward the stage from an elevated position outside of the rally venue. U.S. Secret Service personnel neutralized the shooter, who is now deceased. U.S. Secret Service quickly responded with protective measures, and former President Trump is safe. One spectator was killed and 2 spectators were critically injured. This incident is currently under investigation, and the Secret Service has notified the FBI. But again, now late tonight, we know the FBI is the lead federal law enforcement agency now in the investigation. New video into our newsroom shows the crowd clearing earlier this evening after the gunfire rang out. You can see them standing there all huddled together, essentially waiting for instructions on what to go, on where to go and what to do. Some witnesses say there was really just a lot of confusion and chaos. This is how one person on the stage described what happened.
I'm standing next to the fence on that left-hand side.
when we heard this go off, we thought it was firecrackers at first, and then somebody hollered everybody to the ground, so we're all going down to the ground, and we weren't sure if Trump got hit or not, because the first thing we saw was all the Secret Service crowding around Trump. Now, when it first happened, we weren't sure if Trump reached to his ear or not. We don't know for sure. It just all happened so fast.
No, that's how many people at the rally are describing the incident. Listen to what other witnesses say they saw.
I'm shook. I'm definitely shook up, but I'm okay. Yeah, and Trump was talking, watching him. I heard pop, pop, pop. I thought it was like a cap gun. And my son's like, "Gun, get down." And next thing you know, everybody around us was down. And then once we got down, we was up at the top of our bleacher. The men were yelling to all the snipers and all the cops to come over because he had shot a man and a woman in our bleacher.
I was in the set of bleachers, the very far left of the podium where President Trump was speaking. I was there with friends. I heard several gunshots. The man beside me suffered a gunshot wound to the head. It was a state police and a SWAT team, started evacuating the bleachers, and then I helped carry the man out of the bleachers to a tent that was behind the bleachers.
You helped carry the man yourself. What was his condition when you were carrying him?
He's deceased. He died.
How close were you to him?
A couple yards. I mean, it wasn't very far.
And the people in the bleachers behind us, somebody got popped. Somebody got killed. Somebody died. Somebody got shot. Like, this close to where we were. Those bullets, I pray to God for these people's families. Oh my God. But how is this happening in our country today? And why? Why is it happening?
And that's the question that so many witnesses have been asking all day, and people essentially across the world are saying is, how did this happen in the U.S.? So just a lot of questions tonight. Late tonight, though, the White House did say President Joe Biden was able to speak with former President Trump. Details of that conversation, though, haven't been released yet. And President Biden is condemning the shooting at Trump's rally, calling it sick. Biden says he's been briefed on the shootings. He also says there's no place in America for this kind of violence.
Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. The bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody.
And the president will receive several more briefings tomorrow. He addressed the nation about 2 hours after the shooting. Now he's heading back to Washington, D.C. tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris also sent a statement after the shooting. She said, quote, "I've been briefed on the shooting at former President Trump's event in Pennsylvania. Doug and I are relieved that he is not seriously injured. We are praying for him, his family, and all those who have been injured and impacted by this senseless shooting. We are grateful to the United States Secret Service, first responders, and local authorities for their immediate action. Violence such as this has no place in our nation. We must all condemn this abhorrent act and do our part to ensure that it does not lead to more violence." And we're also learning more about what kind of security goes into campaign events like this one and the implications this shooting could have on the November election. KCRA 3's Peyton Headley is in the newsroom tonight after talking with local experts here in our region. Peyton.
And they spoke to the high level of security of rallies like this and all of the challenges that they present, from planning potential escape routes to tracking individuals they consider high risks to be violent. While they said they're disappointed something like this happened, they say they're not necessarily surprised. Former Sacramento County Sheriff John McGinnis has worked with the Secret Service for presidential visits on numerous occasions.
They train, they practice, they research, they plan for something that historically almost never happens.
But Saturday, the country saw what's being investigated as an assassination attempt on a former president.
It is a very, very significant challenge to protect somebody of this nature. And I think it's reasonable to understand and expect that in the final analysis, there cannot be absolute certainty.
Even with the months of planning that the Secret Service puts into an event like this.
They keep a big portfolio. In fact, they have agents specifically assigned to track people who are inclined, people who may be high risk, people who communicate on social media and otherwise, to show their disdain for somebody, to show perhaps evidence of the fact that they're not quite right and they may be inclined, predisposed to violence. They track them.
The Secret Service obviously takes their job very seriously, and so as a journalist covering a presidential visit, you know you're going to have to spend a lot of time waiting to be swept, go through the different levels of security.
The same events McGinnis once helped to protect. Former KCRA reporter and now political analyst Kevin Riggs worked to cover. He says the shots fired Saturday will change the scope of security for weeks and years to come.
I think everything is going to be viewed through a different and more intense lens this year in terms of what happened today in this attempted assassination.
And as the November election inches closer, he says it's hard to say just how something like this could impact people heading to the polls.
I think both sides are going to say, look, there is no place for this kind of violence, whether it creates extra sympathy for Donald Trump, whether that works against Joe Biden in that sense. Hard for me to say. It could. A lot of unknowns right now.
And going forward, both Riggs and McGinnis spoke to the importance of the investigation, but that it will be complex with a huge crime scene and thousands of potential witnesses with quite a bit of evidence that they have to pour through.
And Peyton, the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee starts on Monday. How do they think this will be impacted?
Well, Riggs said that he has covered 7 national conventions and that security has always been extremely tight. But he said we are going to see security at levels that we have never seen before, adding whether you're a delegate, a journalist, or a spectator, it will be much more difficult to attend any political events this year.
Yeah, it was already going to be tight, and now it's hard to imagine how much tighter it's going to be. Peyton, thanks so much. And Sacramento's mayor is also releasing a statement about the shooting. He says this, quote, "It doesn't matter one's politics. Violence of any kind is abhorrent and unacceptable. I'm sickened by what occurred today in Pennsylvania."
Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley, who represents California's 3rd District, including much of the Sacramento region, posted a message on his X account. He said, quote, "Praying for President Trump and for our country."
And Governor Newsom now speaking out as well. He said on X, quote, "Violence has no place in our democracy. My thoughts are with President Trump and everyone impacted at the rally today."